Have to tell us what the results.
Hey.
Hmm.
Back
Good
to
afternoon.
recess. We'll turn it over. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, so we have budget presentation let me see. I just don't have arms that long. We have a budget presentation for Office of Public Defender. Let me see if I can pull it up. I know it was. I just am too impatient. No, it's blank. Content unavailable. And it says it's her USBs on there. Let's try again. Nope.
Piece of paper I can hand out that basically.
Wait.
I'll have to pop it up. This is one there. A lot of the standards that are being put in place refer to the RAND study, so this is just a really simple synopsis of the RAND studies findings.
Oops. I'm sorry, Kelly. I did something to the iPad. So it's on your screen? Okay. You want to go to the next slide? Okay, so I guess I'm going to turn it over to Ian. He's put together some information about Office of Public Defense and the caseloads.
And I know yeah, thank you. I know the board has already heard from me once about this issue. This is really the pressing issue for the county's Office of Public Defense. The changes ahead, I think the writing is on the wall for the next 3 years. I think that's the simplest way to put it, to stay within the good standing of the standards set forward by the Supreme Court and the Bar Association for the state of Washington. We have to modify caseloads for our attorneys. They have allowed, the Supreme Court is they I'm referring to, a kind of a phase-in approach. And what they've said is in 3 years' time, we'll revisit this. And maybe that's all the changes that need to be done. In my opinion, that would be fine. That's doable. It would lower the amount of cases I can assign attorneys, but within a reasonable amount, within the amount I'm currently doing anyway. So it wouldn't be a major change for us. The numbers that are on this first slide are the far end of this. This is in 10 years. This is the requirement. So you'll see it says felony, 47 felony case credits. Currently 2025, I'm able to assign 150 felony case credits. So this is a 69% reduction in how many case-weighted felony points I can assign a given felony attorney. I'm on the record with the Supreme Court. I'm on the record with the Washington State Bar. This is a ridiculous standard. I mean, this standard is reactionary. It's based on the troubles that King County has created for itself. It got Pierce County to join in. It got Spokane to join in. They're the loudest people in the room due to population primarily, but they got the Supreme Court's ear. The Supreme Court deliberated on it for some time, and they did adopt these standards. So in 10 years' time, that is the standard we're expected to be at. The Supreme Court, as I said, did say in 3 years, we'll assess. What that means is they'll have these group talks that we participated in over the last year and a half, where again, myself and other counties like Cowlitz will come forward and say, you didn't need to make this change in the first place, but now that you've had and we've modified our caseload weighting system and our standards, we're good. Stop moving the needle further and further towards this really, in my opinion, ridiculous new standard. The way this impacts my budget, which I know, which is the primary concern of the board in the meeting for this meeting here today, is my need. My need based on these standards is simple. I'm keeping it in line with how I view this impacting. I think in the year of 2026, I will need one more full-time attorney position. And that's what I'm requesting. I'll be back before the board again next Tuesday for that. And that's not for the felony case credit issue. It's actually for the misdemeanor, which there is 120 misdemeanor case credits. That's the 10-year projection. Right now, I'm able to assign my attorneys 450 misdemeanor cases. I don't go that far. In 2024, they averaged 320. But I have to cut by 10% the amount of misdemeanor cases I assign. So if I'm able to hire a new misdemeanor attorney mid-year next year, which would be my plan, it's actually would hope to give a job offer to the young lady who interned with us this last year through an internship program. She's from Woodland. That would allow us to basically be ready for the changes to come in 2027 when I have to cut it by another 10%. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the limitations which are going to be felt greater in district court, which is the misdemeanor level. That's where we're going to feel these changes first. And comparing ourselves to other counties, I'm just asking for one attorney. Some counties are taking on these standards immediately, effective 2026, January 1, and they are going on a hiring spree. So, I mean, they're hiring double felony attorneys, double misdemeanor attorneys. I am in line with saying that's not necessary based on the numbers we've had in the numerous years. We are seeing less felony cases assigned and actually filed by the prosecutor's office. The only ripple effect of that is I'm seeing more misdemeanor cases being filed instead. The VUXA statute, the simple possession of a controlled substance that used to be a felony, is a misdemeanor. So that used to be the most prevalent felony charge. It's now becoming the most prevalent misdemeanor charge. So that's the math that I'm seeing, and that's the impact I think it's going to have on our office.
And is that 3-year phase in? You figure it's going to be 10% a year?
It must be. That's mandated. So the difference between where we're at and where we need to be, 10% every year. So it's just a slow step to get there. So it's not so painful for counties like ours. And that's basically from all the talking we've done, Kittitas County, other counties that have been very proactively in opposition and to the Supreme Court. That's their handout to us is, okay, you don't have to do it immediately. I would consider this a full-blown emergency if we had to take on these standards January 1, because there's just not the attorneys to hire to meet this need. So it's a bad situation we're in. The other thing I wanted to point out is I will be hopefully meeting with the commissioners soon. The language of the Supreme Court decision also allows us the authority within the county to create our own case weighting mechanism. It isn't a standard, this case must account for 2 points, or this case must account for 1. It gives us a little gray area. So I do have a plan unique to Cowlitz County to have our own case weighting that I think still meets the goal of this change, but without actually giving us the crunch that it could otherwise take if we just started moving blindly towards these new standards with the current case weighting system.
What's the ostensible premise of this? Is it in those big counties, they're saying that those indigents are not having fair representation because of the caseload that the attorneys have?
That's exactly it. So the RAND study came out a couple years ago. That was picked up and taken to be, true to its word. And they're trying to say that a certain amount of hours must be spent on a given case, must be spent. That's not true. We just had a person last week who pled guilty at their arraignment. So that's their second court date that's held within 72 hours of their arrest. They pled guilty right away. So that case probably took an hour worth of an attorney's time just to receive an offer, draw up a plea form, review it with the client, and then they pled guilty 3 days later. The study says, no, that case should take 13 and a half hours minimum. So I mean, it's just a blind, broad brush, whatever you want to call it, approach that's not really practical when you are in the trenches doing this work. But we had held out hope the Supreme Court would be wiser to it, and they took it hook, line, and sinker. So again, the only carve out flexibility they gave us is 10 years. This has to be the standard. So within that, we're trying to adapt and make it work for smaller counties. I've got a lot of good directors from other counties that are in the same boat that are working with me. So we're not alone in this, but it is something we're working against.
So basically, they're telling the attorneys what they can work. Shouldn't that be the discretion of the attorney?
Yes, it should be.
And
So-
if they're telling them you can only work this many hours, shouldn't we be able to adjust wage and compensation?
that is taking what they're saying and running with it as well. I stand firmly and just say it doesn't take that long. I mean, their standard isn't accurate.
Well, they're telling somebody how much they can work. It's no business of theirs.
I agree with that.
It's the attorney's decision. If he doesn't work, she doesn't want to work it, they don't do it.
Right.
And any idea how these places that are hiring all these people expect to pay for this?
I don't know that. I know that they're paying a lot of money. I mean, we do compete for personnel against Clark County. That's the nearest bigger county to compare, and they're paying a lot of money, and they're adopting these standards right away. So they will pay someone more than we pay even on the high end of our pay scale, and they will work a third of the cases. I don't know how
They
that's,
must have money shooting out the
No kidding, they got a money tree.
basket out there.
I don't know how.
And
this
what's
is
the,
feasible.
what's the consequences of not complying, saying, hey, we don't have the funds to do this?
So that is a consensus. What will happen is, what we already deal with is a lot of people that end up in prison aren't happy. So they get litigious. They start filing complaints about ineffective assistance of counsel. You know, my attorney didn't meet with me enough. My attorney didn't research this issue enough.
How about you don't do the crime?
There's always that. But what this really does is give litigious individuals ammo to say, well, actually, no, there's a standard.
And that's only because our courts are broken. I'm sorry.
I'll
I'll
refrain
try to
from
quit
comment-
interrupting you.
Yeah, that's quite all right. I'll refrain from commenting on that, but nonetheless, I mean, it'll give people ammunition to say, my attorney was ineffective, and I can cite this new standard as the reason why they were ineffective. They had too many cases. They didn't have enough time to give my case. So it really puts even defense attorneys on the defensive, because it's individualized like any line of work. There are some attorneys that, yes, they might need to put in 100 hours to prepare a case for trial. And that same case given to a different attorney, it might only take them 20 hours. So we have salary employees at the Office of Public Defense, and I am in charge of making sure that they aren't overburdened or overworked. And that I feel like that's really the crux of what happened in King County and Spokane County and other larger counties, is people just started throwing cases at attorneys blind to their individual efficiency, you know. And if somebody takes too long to get a felony case to trial, they probably shouldn't be doing felony cases. They probably should spend more time doing misdemeanor cases, which are quicker through the process. So it was mismanaged to a point where now we all suffer for it. So that's That's-
Is it anything that's been appealed beyond our Supreme?
no,
I'll
no,
be darned.
these standards are, with the RAND study.
And it
kind
sounds
of,
like the Bar Association backs this too.
the Bar Association was here first. So they were here first, and the Supreme Court kind of got dragged to join them. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, so the Bar Association, Washington State Office of Public Defense, they were all there first. The Supremes, I could tell in our meetings, they were listening to us, and they understood when we said this isn't a problem for us, but if you institute these new standards, you're creating a problem for us. There's nobody to hire to fill the need. They heard that, but in the end, they joined the larger counties and the
I'm sorry,
Bar.
I didn't catch, what are the ramifications for non-compliance?
eventually you're just gonna have a bunch of attorneys that can't practice because they're gonna be bogged down in litigation that they were ineffective, that they were committed
Oh, I see.
malpractice.
But there's no like fines that they've talked about or anything like that?
Nothing like that has been evaluated or adjudicated yet. I mean, it's kind of wait and see what will happen, but what I view is counties that don't fall in line with this standard will end up like, Thurston County did a couple years ago when they were sued. They had two public defenders doing the whole thing, doing all misdemeanor and felony. They got sued and they lost. And it's called State v. ANJ. And, they were sued for a lot of money. And the defendants that they represented was a class of people that were all deemed to have ineffective assistance of counsel. Their cases got brought back. It created a major headache. Those attorneys lost their licenses. So, I mean, there are ramifications if in fact public defenders are overworked and aren't putting in the time. But that's not our problem here. We have good quality control. We have good attorneys.
So the criminal who was put in jail sued the attorneys and won.
Correct.
Good stuff.
Yeah, because again, the argument is they didn't put enough time into my representation and therefore I received ineffective assistance.
Yeah.
And that's why I was convicted.
You'd have kept your hands out of the cookie jar, you wouldn't even be here.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So that,
Okay.
the long-term effect of this is, I think to handle it in the 3-year period that I'm hoping is the end of this is there will be a need for personnel increase at my office. But as of right now, I only view that as one entry-level, associate-level public defense attorney for 2026.
But ultimately, the way things stand, these are the standards you gotta get to.
If nothing changes, these are the standards we got to get to, but then there will be a general revolt amongst smaller counties that simply return back to the Supreme Court and say, we can't do it. What shall we do? You can't create public defense attorneys out of thin air. And no one has discussed what the answer to that is. So, unless they start creating law schools in smaller counties by mandate, and, creating attorneys, which is just not possible. This is really a foreseeable major issue.
The smaller counties will have to send their criminals to the bigger counties that can afford it, I guess.
Or start assigning cases to attorneys in larger counties and making them appear in smaller counties. We have sat in large groups and small groups trying to think of fixes for this, and we really can't. We have good applicants, we hire them, and, we are lucky, on knock on wood, to be fully staffed and to have some good young attorneys as well as some veteran attorneys in our office, but we're fortunate. There are some counties that have a hard time filling their roles, and they're gonna be undone by these standards. Okay, which one is that? No, so, yes. The one that we talked about last time is actually, let's see, court-appointed attorneys line. And that's where we had the issue with district court assigning attorneys.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that. I did send an email over with,
Yeah.
Kathy found an actual county policy that I was unaware of. So there's a county policy barring district court judges from assigning
Yeah.
court-appointed counsel. That's the budget line that I am often scared by, but I mean, my numbers that were cited by the commissioners back in June, we'd already gone over budget by $12,000. That's only gone up.
And you
So-
tell us how much however you want to put it, how much they
I,
vented people that they wanted.
I thought it would be, yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, there are attorneys charging district court $300 an hour
And I've hung
Right.
on to that number. I
for
have
public
that.
defense work, and that's more than there's a murder trial going on right now at the Hall of Justice where we had to contract out due to a conflict. And that attorney who is, I mean, amazing, is $200 an hour. So it's more for somebody representing you on a DUI than a homicide currently with district court running things.
So for the ones that you appoint, they're on that line, right?
Yes, the one that I've contracted with, we try to do a yearly contract at an agreed rate is the one, professional and contract services, or excuse me, public defender.
Public defenders. Mhm.
And then court-appointed attorneys is the one above that line, yeah.
Yeah. So for court-appointed attorneys, his budget is going from 85,000 to 100,000 next year. And in 2024, it ran about $63,000.
So my hope was with the assistance of the commissioners is that I would, I've learned as the Director of Office of Public Defense where I rank on the totem pole of things, especially with the judges and otherwise, but the commissioners have more sway. I would hope we could convince district court to follow the court or the county policy, the general rule that I sent, General Rule 42, which binds all the courts, to return that authority back to me, because this is an issue I've raised before and basically was rebuffed. But I think we could mitigate and make that number reasonable by getting people on contract at an agreed rate that is not near the current rate of pay for who they're appointing. But that would take-
The other option is they pay for if they want to take it outside the deal.
if they,
That it doesn't come out of your budget, it comes out of theirs.
that would be music to my ears as
Well, I
well.
think that ought to be automatic if they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean-
Just shift those costs that they've incurred, put it on their budget
Yes,
and
I-
send them the bill.
because it is galling that it's not only they're taking that authority, which I still believe is under my authority as the Director of the Office of Public
Right.
Defense, but to then send me the bill is just salt in the wound.
Do we know what their justification for that is?
No. I think honestly, when it was raised, there is a certain judge who just said, we can do it. Despite, and that was before I was armed with county policy that also says that they shouldn't and shall not.
Well, and maybe he's right, he can do it, but then you need to pay for it.
It only seems reasonable, and that would eliminate a ever expanding budget line for my office.
I think that's a reasonable request.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know.
Trying to
I'll
remember
work
the
with
number you-
Kathy on how to.
What was the number you sent me? I wanted to say like, it was over 60 or something like.
Oh,
that.
yeah, they're well, I mean,
I wanted to almost say 84.
yeah, and that was 3 months ago now,
Yeah,
almost 4 months ago now.
Oh, yeah.
So
84,000 in non-contracted
yeah.
attorneys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 86,000 as of June 30th. And it's increased since then.
Yeah.
and when
And
we
so
were, right,
district court wants to do that. I'm not saying, if you want to do that, do it. Just pay it. That 86 is coming out of you.
and that's further than I wanted to go, because I still think it should be, I feel like the commissioners and past panels of the commission have given me that authority, and that's why our budget line, you'll see expenditure on that line was 62,715. Now we're probably well over $100,000. So I think there's a track record of us managing that budget and that representation much better. But if they have,
Well, and that option would still be available again. I mean, they could decide, oh, no, we don't want to pay it. We will do it this way. But if they don't want to do it that way, then they can pay. I mean, it's a couple options they have.
couple options and something I would like something to change in
Yeah.
regards to that.
Is the reason we have the policy, is there no conflict of interest where the judges are appointing attorneys to,
So the
that
rules.
seems weird to me.
Yeah, the general rules contemplate a conflict with the judges, not with the Office of Public Defense doing it, because we're a branch of the government. So we are supposed to not have the conflict that they're concerned about judges having.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Currently, the way it's being done, is there no conflict?
I believe there is.
Yeah.
But when this argument came up with those judges, they flipped that, or one particular judge, and felt that I might be, I guess, giving business to friends or people that I, favoritism sort of conflict. I'm not sure, but they thought there was more of a conflict with the Office of Public Defense appointing cases to individual attorneys as opposed to the judges. But the rule that the Supreme Court, it's still in effect, the General Rule 42 says the conflict would be implied to a judge and they should not appoint counsel.
That's what would make sense to me.
So I guess, do we send them a strongly worded letter that just basically says, here's our rule, and if you're going to violate that, you're gonna pay for it? Here's what you've expended so far coming out of your budget.
I think when we make a budget adjustment, we said this is the reason this budget adjustment is happening.
Right.
Cause they'll be in here at some point in time.
I was hoping I'd preempt them.
I,
Yeah, they're,
I'm of
they-
the,
they're coming in. No, district court already presented
Oh.
yesterday,
I'm of the
yesterday.
belief if the Supreme Court said there's a conflict, if we have county policy that says that shouldn't happen, that's the first step that needs to be taken right there. And not bypass our policies, because if we don't enforce a policy that we're aware of and we're allowing them to do that, where does that line, where do we draw a line? I mean, who's gonna say, I don't care what the policy is, I'm gonna do what I want?
Right. Yeah, the general rules as well as the county policy are
Yeah.
not being followed.
I'm for enforcement of the policy.
I do believe I have, just to go one step further too, attorneys that I could probably contract with and get them on the line. So when conflicts arise, it's a default mechanism. I'm saying we do this in Superior Court every day. So if we do our conflicts checks and we can't represent a defendant, we have 3 attorneys on contract to pick from, and we keep their case weighting in mind and assign them cases. And simply our attorney appears with the new defendant. The Office of Public Defense has a conflict, please appoint this attorney. The judge doesn't even balk at it. They're assigned. But that's the opposite of what happens in district court.
Well, and you as attorneys and them as judges know what the word precedence is, and that's something that in law is used a lot.
It's
The
everything.
precedence that is set with not applying this policy is not a good one throughout the county.
It's not a good one for the county, no.
Okay, so what's the next step to fix it? Where are we going with this?
My recommendation is, Ian's budget, he increased it because of the situation he's in. And my suggestion is we decrease his budget, back to something that was more reasonable, like the 85,000 that we had in there at 2025. And, just as you said, any invoices that come because they've been appointed, not recommended by Ian, those invoices, they don't hit his budget,
Invoices that don't meet policy will not be paid or.
right? By the public office, a
Not gonna
public
be charged to
defender.
him anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, but that solves the financial part of it, but how do we solve the procedural part of it where they're doing it? I mean, somewhere we have to bring that up and put that in front of them.
yeah, we can, I don't know, we could draft them something or tell them this is what we're gonna do with budget. I don't know how to force a judge.
And again, on the ranking of attorneys and judges outweigh attorneys. So that's where I've been kind of,
Yeah, I think they
Stuck.
often think they outweigh commissioners.
I don't think they do either, especially the budget, I think, is what gives the counter, the check. Literally and figuratively, it's the,
I just send them a letter. It says we're gonna make this adjustment
Yeah.
according to the rules.
Yeah, you can do that.
It's just crazy to me because they have jobs because people don't follow the rules. So I don't quite understand that.
it's been frustrating.
I can only imagine.
Is there any other expenditure that you wanted to?
No, and I just think from this, the real conversation moving forward, besides the district court issue, is really coming together with a common sense plan for Cowlitz County in regards to the case waiting. So that's something I've been working on, and it's something I need to have done prior to the end of this year. So I plan on requesting meetings to kind of explain. It would be unique to Cowlitz County, but the thought behind it, the reason behind it, and how I think it'll impact case waiting moving forward. So that's something I hope to have in further conversations. It's gonna be something I'll have to propose as an accepted official policy of the county too. So that will be something by January 1, 2026 is what we're doing in response to these new standards. So that's something I'll have before the commission before the end of the year.
You're gonna try to make common sense out of nonsense.
Gonna try.
Yeah.
They gave us a little bit of gray, so I mean, I'm gonna try to work in that.
And then the only other thing that's drastically changed in their budget was the fact that we don't have rental expense any longer. But we do have an expense related to the condominium association dues, which are paid every month.
Oh, yeah.
So that's now in the budget and so there is a savings overall.
I was gonna say, because that should still be a pretty hefty savings.
Yeah, it's still a savings overall, even though we're having to pay like $3,200 a month in association dues. It's still a savings overall
over
over the rent.
around 9 grand or whatever before or something like
Yeah.
that.
So.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
I'll work on a letter tomorrow. I don't think I have much going on.
I did send an email with the rule to cite as well as the county policy that Kathy found. So if anything else, please let me know and I'll take up the argument again.
Okay.
Okay. So now we have corrections. Did we have a slide?
Want me to go through it, Kat? Sure. Hi, good afternoon, Marin Fox, Director of Corrections.
You shouldn't flash that one line item up like that.
I know. I wanted
Had
to
me
leave it
choking
out.
right away.
I wanted to leave it out, but in transparency, I felt I couldn't. So the first slide has the increases and decreases in the jail budget. I included anything that was 5,000 or over. Obviously, it's a higher dollar budget, so I didn't want to get into the weeds. So we were able to do pretty significant decreases in a couple line items. That first line item is food. That's the food we supply to the inmates. Drugs, obviously that's pharmaceutical for the inmates. We decreased both of those by 50,000. Small tools, we decreased by 5,000. Professional services, that is things like shredding, polygraph, psychological evaluations, those kind of professional expenses, we decreased that as well. Obviously, the jail medical went up significantly, as you're aware. The travel, I know we were asked to decrease our travel and training budget. We have a pretty significant travel and training budget. Much of that is required. So our tuition and registration includes the amount of money we pay the state when we send people to the academy, the money we pay a company to do our defensive tactics training and that sort of thing. So I was not able to decrease the larger portion of our travel and training. I increased advertising. We've been using that a little bit more on Indeed periodically to pop our jobs to the top. It is a little bit expensive, but it does help get applications in.
What particular crimes are we advertising for?
The corrections officer position.
Okay.
No cracks. And Longview Utilities, we've just seen an increase there. Decreased repairs and maintenance. Dues and subscriptions, we've increased. That is because we're using an online system for our backgrounds. There's a yearly fee that goes along with that. And I decreased our machinery and equipment pretty significantly. We have that as sort of a base when we have things go wrong that we need to repair, but I'll come back to the board if we need to adjust that later in the year. But I anticipate we'll be able to stay in the 30,000 range. So overall in the jail budget, it's a total increase of about 1.3 million, which obviously largely is comprised of the jail medical, but we did really attempt to bring down the line items that we were able to.
Maureen, how did we reduce the food budget? Did we renegotiate a contract with the vendor or?
I believe it was because we were anticipating that our population was going to continue to rise. So we have not, we've really kind of stayed a little bit stagnant. Our bookings have gone up, but our population is staying lower than I thought, but this is sort of an unknown time. The population just isn't as predictable as it used to be. So as our population stays in this range, which I anticipate it will, I think we can sustain that.
And on the dues and subscriptions, is that 8,000 a new program that we're using?
Yes.
So when we use a new program like that, is there a savings to offset that new cost elsewhere because we're running more efficient?
The savings is, I guess, in that we're going to be able to hire people and we are seeing success there. So before it was like a 30-page paper background we would send to people. They have to fill it out by hand and return it to us, and we just weren't getting them back. So going to this online system makes sense. People could do it on their phone. I mean, a lot of people don't have a computer to print things out. That's just the way it is. So it is just improved our process as it makes it easier to track where we are at on backgrounds.
So it's not necessarily a job-related subscription, it's a recruiting tool.
It's a recruiting tool, yes.
Is it similar to the one the sheriff uses?
I'm not sure. The sheriff's office uses a testing.
They have some kind of recruiting tool that seems to narrow them down faster and easier.
Right.
I'm just curious if it was.
I could check with them. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what their background looks like or what system they're using. HR worked with us on this and it's been a good system.
One, I don't know if it's a silver lining, but I found it interesting information. I talking to Jason a little bit on this contract before yesterday's meeting, and this particular company, one of the things he noted was in looking at the history, they haven't had lost any claims.
No successful. I mean.
Yeah, they've
yes,
had no
yes,
successful
yes.
claims against them, so
Mhm.
which means which the other one has been
Yep.
paying out hand over fist, it
Yep.
seems like, so it feels like, yeah, it's a ton more money than what we're doing, but they may have a better handle on the nuts and bolts of it, if there can be any kind of silver lining.
Yeah, their medical director, their CEO is a doctor. And so it's a much smaller company. NAFCARE is a huge company. So it's much different feel. He's much more hands-on. They're very focused on inmate healthcare rather than profit. So, but obviously it's still quite a bit more expensive, though. And I think NAFCARE's bid was closer to 5 million. So unfortunately.
So I notice on both these pages, I think you got small tools listed in two places.
Mhm.
What's the difference between the two categories?
Are you talking about page 1 and page 2?
Yes.
Yep. So the page 1 is the jail budget. Page 2 is offender services budget.
Okay.
So in the jail, that's everything inside that facility. In the offender services budget, that's going to include work crew.
Okay.
That's the most typical thing we're spending money on, repairs and maintenance and small
Got it.
tools and offender services. All right, anything else on the jail? Oh, I have that last. Offender services, we're decreasing overtime and extra help pretty significantly. Small tools, we decreased travel and as well as repairs and maintenance. In that budget, I addressed anything that was $1,000 change or more, but that pretty much covers it.
Maureen, what did you say your overall reduction was?
I don't, like, between all of it, I didn't add that up.
Okay.
And as long as I can leave off the jail medical increase, it's gonna feel a little bit better. Nothing,
Yeah,
nothing
so
I
big-
can
big
do is,
increase. If you had a reduction, that's pretty impressive.
we did not get a reduction. In the jail budget, you have to factor in all the increases that go along with personnel.
Yeah.
That are kind of automatics that we can't, but so. The increase is pretty close to, I was able to keep the increase to pretty close to what the jail medical increase was. Unfortunately, that's the best we can do in this circumstance. The next slide is the concessions budget. So that is funded by the money the county receives for commissary and phone for the inmates. So we decreased quite a few of those line items as well. We use this fund for inmate-related programs. So like our inmate workers, the special uniforms they wear, special shoes, things that benefit the inmates. And the next slide is revenue changes for the whole department. I put offender services in the jail and concessions on one. You can see on the side which line item is for which budget. The federal lunch is reimbursement we get for providing the meals for the juvenile detention center. We've started providing the meals for the transition school as well, so that's why you see an increase there. The booking fees are paid by the inmates. So we charge them upon conviction, and we've been collecting quite a bit there. Kelso, Woodland, Longview, those are all increases based on their booking more people. I didn't factor in the pending contracts we have with the cities, which will increase the daily rate by about $12 per inmate per day. So we will also see a bump based on that.
And you didn't factor that in?
I did not
Did
factor
not,
that,
okay.
but they're not signed yet. They've gone out to the cities this week.
And Kathy, you guys have been meeting and came up with a plan to slowly integrate to get them up to the current rate on that?
So Marin has been meeting with the cities. I just assisted her in getting the numbers for the daily rate based upon the program that's in place.
So they did not get a gradual increase. They're getting a big increase all at once because this negotiation took years. We started this negotiation pre-COVID, then COVID happened, and that changed bookings so dramatically that the way we were coming up with our bed rate would have skyrocketed for the cities. So we looked at changing the way we do our rate entirely. There was also a change in leadership here, change in finance here, change in leadership at different cities. So anyway, it ended up in this very kind of long, drawn out process. So they're getting a big increase, but the police chiefs understand that. They've also had the benefit of not having an increase for a number of years.
Possibly thinking of district court,
Yeah,
where we've changed some of those and kind of staggered them in.
yeah, that one we're doing the phase in,
Yeah.
but this one, no.
No,
This one, no phase in? Okay.
nope. We're also seeing a bit more business from DOC, so we've increased that line item as well. They pay us per day rate there. And some decreases in offender services just based on numbers that we don't have a lot of control over. We did see a pretty big increase for the inmate phone, so we're making more in revenue there. Any other questions?
Yeah, and this, I don't mean it to be sensitive or controversial or anything, but how do we work with ICE? If they refer us people, do we take them in or what do we do?
No, Washington has a state law that disallows that. If ICE were to have a detainer that were signed by a judge or magistrate, we would be able to take them. But what the holds they are typically arresting people on are administrative holds. So they're not signed by any judge or magistrate. So in the state of Washington, those are not bookable. It's not legal to hold people on those in the jails.
Does state of Washington law conflict with federal? Federal doesn't need that, do they?
I wouldn't I don't know. I think it varies state by state. So if they pick them up
Up
in,
varies 3 states anyways.
it was, the change in Washington was originally based on a lawsuit out of Oregon that changed everything for, probably agencies in the Ninth Circuit. But then Washington took it a step further and passed a law called, I think it's Keep Washington Working. There's a specific law in the state of Washington in addition to the lawsuit out of Oregon.
So it's-
I just have trouble figuring out how the state can usurp federal law when you're talking about a federal problem. If it's just a state-only problem, I get that.
Right, but it's the state law, obviously, it's not a compliance with federal if we're sitting here quoting state law.
Yeah.
So
Hmm,
when you said
interesting.
they're picking them up on administrative issues, if they have any criminal, or if they have any criminal history, or if they have any, like, let's say somebody has a warrant or something like that, does that change that?
If they have something bookable, otherwise we're obviously going to take them on the bookable offense. If they bring an ICE detainer into us, we put it in the file. ICE can get our information as far as who's being released. We can't release them to ICE. Like, we can't hold a
Got it.
person for ICE to come pick up. But if they wanted to pick them up when they're walking out the front, they can do that.
Interesting.
Do we have any control over that, or is, you're saying that the state tells us what we can do on that?
The state law prevails. I don't know that any county in the state of Washington is doing anything different. I know the Pierce County Sheriff is fighting pretty hard, but I don't believe, I don't know of any county that would accept on those detainers because they're not a legal hold. I'd be putting the county in a legal position that I wouldn't do.
It's an interesting situation because you've got states usurping federal law, and if counties would usurp state law, I wonder how that would go over if we were just following their precedents that they have currently set, the way that they're following federal law themselves.
Yeah. I'd maybe let another county do that first. Would be my suggestion.
Yeah, it's just an interesting quagmire.
It certainly is, and I don't know how much things will change. I know people want it to change, but the law is the law.
Well, the law has to, it can't be repugnant to the Constitution. We have a lot of those that repugnant to the Constitution and they're not law, though we assume they are and courts act like they are.
Yeah. How do you get off the merry-go-round?
Yeah, I know it. Okay, that's. All right.
All right, the next slide, I just wanted to not toot my own horn, but say, we've cut positions. So we've held the line. We cut 2 positions during COVID. We eliminated a mental health worker position. I eliminated a programs manager position. We've held the line, and if the county's looking at cuts, I think we've stepped up to the plate. And I don't think you'll find very many departments that cut any positions during COVID, but we've not added any of those back.
I've seen some of your, the crews out working a couple times too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Is this
good.
setting us up for an ask later on?
I'm
No?
not an ask, just keep in mind.
Yeah.
I was told that those 2021 cuts would be remembered. So I'm just reminding that those happened.
Thank you. I wasn't here, so I appreciate it.
And
Let's talk to you. Yep.
just thinking out loud, that medical contract is so big. Oh, well.
I didn't mention, and I should have on Monday, that we do receive about a $400,000 reimbursement from the state for the MAT MOUD program. So that does offset about 400,000 of that contract.
Oh, it does.
Mhm.
Well, that's a little bit of good news.
Yeah. Right.
They should refund us more since it's the state policy that causes that, but
Yeah.
Yes.
But that makes.
Like
sense.
1.2
That's
million.
common sense, Rick. You can't
Yeah,
afford that.
let's not go there.
Yeah,
Heaven forbid.
doesn't work with the
We could be
state.
thrown in jail for common sense.
I'd give you a very nice room.
I know.
I don't know either one of these
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, I ain't buying that.
Quick, that was good.
You'll have me one of those red suits. I know what you'll do.
All
I
right.
think you'd
any-
rather have candy.
Yeah, I know it, right?
And I did make a note here that we've had a vacant work crew officer position that is still vacant. I've kind of been in a holding pattern on work crew as things have changed to see where we're going to land. I don't anticipate filling it anytime soon, but if we're able to restart in custody work crew, I may want to do that, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So
Everything working at your building? Weren't we looking at one time about doing some better, because we had the one inmate that got a wrong band or, I
Mhm.
don't know if it was a wrong band, but was misidentified.
no band.
Yeah,
didn't have
and
a
we
band.
were, and weren't we looking in a different way?
Mhm.
And I don't know if we ever got to the point of implementing anything, but
Yep, that was implemented in the last few months.
we did do that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, so it also replaces our inmate cell check system. So we've been using this old system since we opened the jail in 2006. So now all the inmates have ID bracelets on, so we can
And you could-
keep track
you check
of
them out.
things in a way that'll also help with litigation. So sometimes in litigation, they'll say, did this person get to the yard? Currently, we would just say, well, theoretically, they should have.
Now you-
But
you-
now we'll be
you
able to
track.
actually have proof of
Okay.
the things that we're doing
Good.
and better systems so we don't release the wrong person inadvertently.
Mr. Farrell was, have you talked to her about that system? Chelan has?
No, I have not.
Have you heard it? Maybe you could explain it. Have you heard of it? You've heard of what Chelan has?
Chelan, I was there to help with an assessment center for them last month and I toured their facility. That's an old school facility. Yes, the biometric sensors.
Yeah,
Yep. So we're planning on, we needed to get this medical contract done and then that's the next thing we're going to be doing.
we're gonna take a look at those.
The risk pool offers a reimbursement that covers about 6 of those. So we'd be able to put them in it's about 25,000, which covers 6 cells. There is an ongoing cost of the county, but it's not exorbitant. I want to say maybe 5 or 6,000 a year.
It's more like a software type updates, things
Yeah.
like that.
So it's it's mounted in the cell and will alert if the person's vitals are becoming dangerous.
Yeah, when we were at the Risk Pool conference, Chelan actually had a situation the previous week where that alarm went off and they were able to get the inmate to the hospital in time. And there was no, no tort claim or anything
Yeah.
after that, so.
The only downside with that technology is that it can only monitor one person in a cell. And as you know, most of our cells hold way more than one person.
Yeah.
Our intent is to use those in our intake cells, which is where people are housed when they come in and they're very high. Because to me, that's probably our biggest
Probably your
Danger.
biggest exposure right
danger
there.
zone. And if they work out, that may be an ask I'd make to the board to expand those maybe into our medical unit. But we'll start,
Okay,
the intent is to start with what the risk pool can fund.
good.
So the bracelets you're talking about are the wristbands. What are those? I guess, what are they? Are they a permanent, put it on, they can't get them off, obviously.
No, we have to cut them off. They're clipped on. They're kind of like a hospital band.
Okay,
It's very similar to that. And they have a photo on them and then we can, the officers carry what basically like a cell phone. And then they can
scan it.
zap it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Barcodes, that's it, not zap it. All right. Any other questions?
I think we're good. Thanks, Marin.
Thanks, Marin.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Of course.
That's it. We don't have any other presentation today, right? We're finished until next Tuesday.
Okay. No, Commissioner Rader, did you want to take
Yeah, I'd
a
like.
little
to
bit
go
of
on-
time?
Yeah, have an executive session for contract negotiations. minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 3:36 PM.
Because. Back for executive session, no decisions rendered. Any other things for the good of the order? We're all good? Okay, we will adjourn. Thank you. Yeah, and it's so handy.
Yeah.